we're going to these counterfeit comforts, whether it is the astrology website, whether it is looking up your Enneagram number, trying to understand yourself better, but actually you are just believing lies being told about yourself. Or it is us turning to relationships, or it is us running to having a little wine at the end of the night, or maybe just going out at night, doing a little hookah here, maybe going home with someone there. We're going to these places where we think we're going to find something that only God can give us. Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Melody and I make faith-based content here on YouTube. I post new videos every single Monday, so if that's something you're interested in, definitely be sure and subscribe. I would love to have you join the family. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about counterfeit comforts. These places, spaces, sometimes people even, habits, vices, these things that we turn to for comfort instead of the Lord. And specifically, we're turning to these things to find comfort that can only be found in the Lord. Now, I feel like this topic of counterfeit comforts, this concept even, is something that we need to discuss more often. It's something that we need to normalize, something that we need to ask God to search our hearts on more often, because oftentimes the counterfeit comforts in our life are so incredibly sneaky. And also because of the culture that we live in, they can be so incredibly normalized as well. Like, oh yeah, I just love a sweet treat after every time I eat. And that is completely normal. When no, sis, we actually are turning to food to find comfort instead of going to God, who is actually going to be able to comfort our hearts in this moment where we're feeling a little bit stressed out. Or in my case, which I'm going to be sharing on, it's something that the Lord has freed me from by the grace of God. In my past and before I got married, relationships was a huge counterfeit comfort in my life. And it was normalized because everyone around me at that time was in a relationship or desired just as much as I did to be in one. And so I thought that this is normal, to be obsessed with the concept of being in a relationship, to be obsessed with this idea of finding my husband. But no, it was actually a counterfeit comfort. So my hope and prayer today is, as I unpack some of the counterfeit comforts, first and foremost, that the Lord has freed me from, and also some that I'm still walking through. And also as we look to the text to understand, where did counterfeit comforts first originate? What is this concept? Where does it come from? I hope that we are going to experience more freedom in Christ, less bondage to these things that actually are not providing the comfort that we're seeking, and having a better understanding that God truly is our source. Absolutely everything that we think we're getting from these counterfeit comforts can actually be found in a legitimate way with God. And I'm also going to be unpacking that truth and how we can access that and prove it to ourselves. So with all that being said, let's just go ahead and dive right in. We are first going to start with the text. Again, that's going to be Genesis chapter 3. And then we're gonna start unpacking, and I will also share some of my testimony from there. So let's get into it. It starts with, now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord had made. He said to the woman, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? The woman said to the serpent, we may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God did say you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it or you will die. You will not certainly die, the serpent said to the woman, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Now, when it comes to this text, I'm sure we are all so incredibly familiar with it, but there are a few things that stand out to me here, specifically when it comes to this concept of counterfeit comforts. First and foremost, the serpent told both a truth and a lie at the same time. Secondly, as he was interacting with Eve, he began to get her to doubt what she knew God said. The third thing that comes to mind is the fact that she entertained the serpent at all. He came over, started asking questions. She did not have to engage, but she chose to engage. And from there, he was able to weasel his way on in. Like it said in verse 1, he was the most crafty animal of them all. And this is the part that really stands out. The promise that the serpent gave her of what would happen if she did eat this fruit that God said not to eat. The serpent said, you will not die, like God said. You will have the knowledge of good and evil just like him. him. So here the serpent is handing over Eve on a silver platter the counterfeit comfort of being like God, when no one can actually be like God, of knowing things that only God knows, and she falls for it. And the thing about it is, this is exactly what we are doing every single day too. We're going to these counterfeit comforts, whether it is the astrology website, whether it is looking up your Enneagram number, trying to understand yourself better, but actually you are just believing lies being told about yourself. Or it is us turning to relationships, or it is us running to having a little wine at the end of the night, or maybe just going out at night, doing a little hookah here, maybe going home with someone there. We're going to these places where we think we're going to find something that only God can give us. So now that we have an understanding of where counterfeit comforts originated, I think it's time for me to share some of the ways that the Lord has freed me from previous counter comforts, and also some of the things that I'm currently walking through when it comes to this specific challenge. So let's go ahead and transition into testimony time. So the first counterfeit comfort that I really was able to recognize in my life once I came into relationship with God, and the first one that I feel like he freed me from, is the counterfeit comfort of relationships. I was someone that had a really unhealthy relationship with relationships. I was looking to dating and to guys, to men, to make me feel loved, accepted, validated, seen, heard, worthy, all of these things that I actually can only find in my Heavenly Father. And part of the reason why I felt like I went to get these things in relationships was because I wasn't in relationship with God at this point in my life. And so I just looked around at what everyone else was doing, and I was like, oh, this is where you go. You go to your boyfriend, you go to your husband to feel loved and cared for and seen and heard and all of these things. And what's crazy is, looking back over my testimony, what really drew me to the Lord was a heartbreak, okay? And it's funny that he used that counterfeit comfort and me realizing like, oh my gosh, once again, this thing is not meeting my needs, to draw me to him. And so I'll never forget, there was a specific moment where I know that God broke this counterfeit comfort off of me, and it was the fall of 2017. Now, mind you, I came into a relationship with God in 2015. And so it took some time for me to start recognizing this counterfeit comfort in my life. I read a book called Captivating. I will have it linked down below. And it was really illuminating to me because it showed me that I was going to Adam. This is how they describe it in the book. I was going to Adam, you know, like the first man, Adam, going to men to get these legitimate needs met in an illegitimate way. And that is why they never actually satisfied. And so again, fast forwarding 2017, I'm becoming aware of the ways in which I've used relationships and used men, honestly, to feel loved and seen and cared for and heard. And it was also unhealthy because the way that I was dating was definitely not God's way at that time. Now, mind you, when I did come into a relationship with God, I started feeling convicted, which I want to do a video about convictions. Let me know in the comments if you want that, a video about how our convictions are actually a good thing. But I started to feel convicted about having sex, and that is when I took that off the table, but I still was not honoring God through the manner in which I was dating. So long story short, 2017, I'm in Prague by myself. I'm being a little digital nomad, living this life I think I wanted to live. I was in Prague for a month, and I remember having obsessive thoughts about my husband. Mind you, I wasn't dating anyone. I didn't know my husband at that point. Like, I knew him, but he was like so far off of my mind, because if you guys know our story, like, we met and then we didn't talk for 10 years. So I literally, like, he wasn't even a thought in my brain. I had no prospects on the horizon, but I was obsessed, sis. I kid you not. I would walk around Prague and just like look around, be like, is that my husband? Is that my husband? Is that my husband? Could you be my husband? And it was driving me crazy. And I remember crying out to God, asking him to just take this desire away, just take it away, just free me from these obsessive thoughts. And he did. And miraculously, the Lord removed these thoughts from my mind. And that is how I got free from that specific counterfeit comfort, which I'm so glad I did, because 2 years later, that is when my husband came into my life. So I was able to not be dealing with this anymore. And now the second counterfeit comfort, I'm gonna just kind of do like a little rapid fire, I guess, for the second, third, and fourth. The second one that really comes to mind is me diving into new age practices. This was happening in college. I was calling God the universe. I was carrying around crystals. I was thinking that these new age things were going to bring me comfort, going to help me have a good day, going to help me control my thoughts. So then when I control my thoughts, I can manifest my destiny, all of this craziness. And God freed me from that when I came into relationship with him, and I was able to see the deception that I had fallen into. And so that's number 2. And now number 3 is smoking. I feel like I don't really talk much about this here on my channel, but I used to smoke really heavily in college. It was something that I was known for, like the girl that could hang. I knew how to roll everything up, and it really was a part of my identity. And it helped me at the time, when I thought it was helping me cope with life. I was experiencing depression, and I would smoke every single day before I did anything. Before I went to class, before I went to work, before I even ate, I would smoke. And now looking back at that, I feel like I don't even recognize myself, because I could not even imagine getting high at this point. And to God be the glory for that. So circumstance caused me to stop smoking, but I'm so grateful that God did it in that manner, because I don't know if I would have had the strength to really step away from this specific comfort in my life, something that was so prevalent, so ingrained into the relationships that I was in, so ingrained into the friendships, so ingrained into the men that I was choosing to date as well. And so this is something that I am so grateful to be free from, and it feels like just like I don't even recognize myself in that sense. And number 4 is this concept of lust of the eyes, just really wanting specific material items, thinking if I get the car, if I get the phone, if I get this, if I have the outfit, if I have the leggings, that somehow that is going to fulfill me, that somehow that is going to change my life and make me happy, make me joyful, make me this, make me that, when really the change that I'm searching for can only be found in the Lord, can really be found by me just opening up the pages of my Bible. But I would run thinking, man, I need a new phone, I need a new car, I need the new Lulu set, I need the new hairstyle, I need the eyelash extensions. Like this thing I was so convinced was going to change my life, and sis, it never did. So those are some of the counterfeit comforts that the Lord has freed me from. So if you are experiencing any of those, sis, I want you to walk in expectance and knowing that if God did it for me, then he can absolutely do it for you. Now let's talk about some of the counterfeit comforts that I'm still walking through. These 2, okay, these are my 2 problem children. Not that I have 2 children, but these 2 counter comfort are my problem children. These things that I can see myself and feel myself turning to and running to throughout a day for comfort. And these are things that I am just working through with the Lord. So first and foremost, social media. I feel like this one is really hard because it is part of my job, but how often I'm on there, how often I'm scrolling, how often I'm going there to just zone out for a second, to take a breather, to relax, to gather my thoughts, whatever, it's not actually helping me calm down. It's not actually helping me relax. It's not actually helping me decompress, helping me feel less stressed, bringing me any comfort. What I need to do is be opening up my Bible app, but there is something about social media that continues to be one of my counterfeit comforts. And the thing is, I know it, but it's just hard to break that connection. So that's something that I'm walking through. And then secondly, food. I feel like I've talked about this a few times on my channel, but I'm really trying to break the connection between my emotions and food. And I feel like for a long time, because of my body type, I was able to just reward myself with food, or if I was ever inconvenienced, go and get a sweet treat, whatever it was. And I never saw the effects of it. And now that I'm trying to be more mindful and, you know, get the baby weight off and all of that, I'm like, dang, I can't keep doing this. There actually are side effects. And I just want to honor God truly with what I put into my temple, and not think that when I'm overwhelmed, having a little muffin or going and getting a cake pop is actually going to satisfy and calm my soul the way that I know it's not. Like, I know it is not going to. And so I'm really just believing God to help me break the connection between food and comfort, because they are not the same. They are not synonymous. Now, lastly, when it comes to us breaking these connections between running to our counterfeit comforts instead of running to the Lord, I want you to do this little exercise that Jackie Hill Perry talked about at her Glory conference. She was speaking about when she was going through a breakup with someone that she had dated prior to coming into relationship with God, prior to giving her life to Christ. And she was telling her mentor, oh my gosh, this person just brought me so much comfort. This person just really made me feel comforted. And her mentor told her, I want you to write a list out of everything that you thought this person brought to your life. And I want you to find verses that confirm that you can actually get that from God. And so that's what I want to leave with us. Anywhere where we are running to these counterfeit comforts, whatever they are for you, whether it's a relationship, whether it is the bad habit, whether it is smoking, whether it is drinking, whether it's going out, whether it is astrology, whether it is trying to dabble in Enneagram, whatever it is, sis, wherever your counterfeit comfort leads you to, I want us to write out lists, just like her mentor said, lists of what we think these things are giving to us, and go to the word and find out that God is actually the source of these things. God is actually the place where we can go and get these needs met. Okay, sis, that is going to be it for me. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And now, of course, it is your turn. So in the comments below, I would love to know, what is one counterfeit comfort that you have experienced in your life? I feel like sometimes, like I mentioned at the beginning, some counterfeit comforts can be so normalized in our society that we don't even recognize that it is a place that we're going to get a need met, again, that only God can actually meet. So let us share one of our counterfeit comforts in the comments below in hopes that we might be either inspiring other people to recognize a counterfeit comfort for what it is, or that we are just going to be believing alongside each other that God is going to free us from these things. So again, drop yours in the comments. And as always, I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Peace.